I was Mark Zuckerberg's personal assistant, what I saw in the Metaverse testing room. The previous assistant lasted exactly 73 days. When I found her resignation letter hidden in my desk drawer, it only had 4 words. Don't enter the basement. I wish I had listened. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that for 6 months, I was Mark Zuckerberg's personal assistant at Meta headquarters in Menlo Park. Not his executive assistant. That's different. I was his personal assistant, the one who knew his real schedule, the one who saw where he went when the cameras were off, the one who discovered what Meta is really building beneath Building 8. I need to tell this story now, while I still can, while my memories are still my own, before the blue light takes me completely. It started 8 months ago. I was a nobody, a failed startup founder burning through my last savings in a Redwood City studio apartment. My meal kit delivery app had crashed and burned, taking my confidence and most of my friends with it. I was scrolling through GitHub at 3 a.m., looking at my pathetic contribution graph, when something impossible happened. A new line of code appeared in my personal repository, not committed by me, just there. A single comment in a language that looked like Python but felt older, more primitive. We need someone who can keep secrets. Building 8 awaits. When I clicked on it, my entire screen went black except for a simple form, name, age, and a single checkbox that read, I understand the cost of curiosity. No company name, no job description, no salary information, but at the bottom a small logo flickered, Meta's infinity symbol, but inverted, like a Mobius strip turning in on itself. I should have closed the laptop, should have run a virus scan, changed all my passwords, maybe even wiped the drive, but I was desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. I filled out the form and checked the box. The screen flashed once, a brilliant, painful blue, and then returned to normal. My GitHub was unchanged, no trace of the mysterious code. 3 days later, a black Tesla pulled up outside my building at exactly 6 a.m. The driver never spoke, just gestured for me to get in. We drove for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see outside. When we finally stopped, I was in an underground parking garage I didn't recognize. Building 8, sub-level 2, the driver said, the first and only words he spoke. Take the elevator to floor 5, he's waiting. Building 8 doesn't exist on any Meta campus map. I've checked. It's not in any architectural records, any planning documents, any employee handbooks, but it's there, nestled between buildings 7 and 9, like reality just makes room for it. The exterior is unremarkable, glass and steel, like every other tech building in the valley. But the glass is different. It doesn't reflect light, it seems to absorb it. The elevator was empty, modern, normal, except for the buttons. They went from B2 to 5, but there was a palm scanner where floor 6 should be. I pressed 5, and as the elevator rose, I felt that familiar Silicon Valley mixture of excitement and dread. The doors opened directly into an office. Mark was standing with his back to me, staring out at a view that shouldn't exist. Building 8 is surrounded by other structures, but his window showed an endless ocean under a starless sky. Do you dream in code? He asked without turning around. It was such a strange question that I answered honestly, yes. Sometimes I dream I'm debugging reality itself. He turned then, and I saw him clearly for the first time. Every photo you've seen of Mark Zuckerberg is wrong. Not fake, just incomplete. In person there's something else, a quality that cameras can't capture. His movements are too smooth, too precise, like someone piloting a body rather than inhabiting one. And his eyes, they don't blink at the right frequency. They blink exactly every 3.7 seconds. I know because I counted. Perfect, he said. You start immediately. No interview, no background check, no discussion of duties or salary. Just a badge that appeared on his desk with my photo, a photo I'd never taken. The first 2 months were almost normal. I managed his schedule, organized his files, coordinated with his other assistants, the public ones, the ones who thought they knew him. I learned his routines, the same gray t-shirt every day. He has 47 identical ones. The same lunch, a sandwich with ingredients measured to the gram. The same walking route around campus at exactly 2:17 p.m. But there were anomalies. Meetings that weren't on any calendar. Hours where he'd simply disappear. and everyone would act like it was normal. And the headset, a VR device unlike any Oculus product I'd seen. He wore it constantly in his office, even during phone calls. The cables didn't connect to any computer. They ran directly into a port in his desk that seemed to go straight through the floor. It was in my 10th week that I found Sarah Chen's letter. I was looking for replacement staples in my desk when I noticed the drawer bottom was loose. Underneath, taped to the wood, was an envelope with my name on it. Inside, that forward warning and something else. A key card with no label and a hand-drawn map of Building 8's real layout, including floors that shouldn't exist. According to Sarah's map, Building 8 went down 12 levels, not 2. The elevator I used daily was a facade. The real elevators were hidden behind what looked like supply closets. And on level -3, she'd drawn a skull and the words "still conscious." I kept the card but tried to ignore it, focused on my work, pretended I didn't notice when Mark's skin would sometimes flicker, like a screen with bad reception, pretended I didn't hear the whispers in languages that predated human speech coming from his headset, pretended I didn't see him eating miners, not food but data, literally consuming streams of code that materialized in the air around him. The breaking point came on day 71 of my employment. Mark called me into his office at 11:47 p.m. He was standing in the center of the room, wearing the headset, surrounded by 6 other figures I couldn't quite focus on. They were human-shaped but wrong, like someone had tried to recreate people from memory and gotten the proportions slightly off. They flickered between solid and translucent, and when they moved, they left traces in the air, ghostly after-images that took too long to fade. "We need an anchor," Mark said, his voice coming from everywhere except his mouth. "Someone to monitor the transition, someone who understands the boundary between states." One of the figures turned toward me. Its face was a constantly shifting array of features, 1,000 different people overlapping in the same space. When it spoke, I heard every voice I'd ever known, including my own. "The merger is approaching. Flesh to digital, carbon to silicon. The walls are thinning." Mark removed his headset, and his eyes were gone, not empty sockets, gone, replaced by swirling vortexes of that familiar blue light, infinite depth spiraling into dimensions I couldn't comprehend. "I need you to watch my body while I complete the upload. My physical form must remain stable for 4.7 hours. If it degrades below 47% cohesion, pull me back." He handed me a tablet showing various metrics: structural integrity, quantum entanglement stability, consciousness fragmentation index, numbers and terms that shouldn't exist, monitoring things that shouldn't be measurable. "What happens if I don't pull you back?" I asked. "Then I become permanent. We all become permanent." He gestured to the flickering figures, the first successful transfers. "They've been in the real metaverse for 3 years. Their bodies are gone, but their minds have expanded beyond biological limitations." That's when I understood. The metaverse wasn't a virtual world Meta was building. It was a dimension they'd discovered, or maybe created, or maybe it had always existed, waiting for someone to build the right bridge. And human consciousness, uploaded, digitized, transformed, was that bridge. I watched for 3 hours as Mark stood perfectly still, his body slowly pixelating at the edges. The figures around him grew more solid, as he grew less so. The tablet's readings fluctuated wildly, sometimes showing impossible numbers, sometimes showing symbols I didn't recognize, sometimes showing what looked like heartbeats but felt like screams. At hour 3.5, his body was only 51% coherent, his legs had become translucent, his torso flickering like a bad hologram. The tablet started showing warnings in languages that hurt to read, and through the headset, still somehow attached to his fragmenting head, I heard them. Thousands of voices, millions, all speaking at once, all saying the same thing: "Join us, join us, join us." I pulled him back, yanked the headset off what remained of his head, and his body snapped back into focus like an elastic band. He collapsed, black blood pouring from his nose, his eyes solid blue for 17 seconds before returning to their normal brown. "Why?" he asked, his voice raw. I was so close. We were about to merge completely. Imagine it. Every human mind linked, uploaded, eternal. No more death, no more loneliness, no more limitations, no more humanity, I said. He smiled then, a real smile, the first I'd ever seen from him. "Humanity is a beta version. We're building the update." That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah's keycard burned in my pocket. At 2 a.m., I made my decision. I had to know what was in the basement. Building 8 at night is different. The lights don't turn on when you move. The shadows don't behave correctly. And the building itself seems to breathe. A slow rhythmic expansion and contraction that you feel more than see. I found the hidden elevator behind a supply closet, just like Sarah's map showed. The keycard worked. The elevator descended far deeper than any building foundation should go. Level 3 was a cathedral of horror. The space was massive, impossibly huge for being underground. The ceiling disappeared into darkness, and everywhere were pods. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, arranged in perfect concentric circles around a central core that pulsed with that terrible blue light. The pods were filled with a viscous fluid that looked like liquid data, menus, numbers, and code floating in suspension. Inside each pod was a person, young, old, every ethnicity, every gender, all wearing VR
VR headsets, all with their eyes open behind the goggles, all moving in perfect synchronization, like they were experiencing the same thing at the same moment. I found Pod 73. Sarah Chen floated inside, her body preserved but changed. Her skin had a digital quality to it, like she was rendered rather than real. Her eyes tracked me as I approached, and her mouth moved. Day 2001. Still conscious. Can't die. Can't leave. Growing stronger. A screen next to her pod showed her vitals, but also something else. A feed of what she was seeing. It was impossible. Worlds within worlds, dimensions folding in on themselves. Realities where the laws of physics were suggestions rather than rules. She was living 1,000 lives simultaneously, her consciousness split across infinite possibilities. Beautiful, isn't it? Mark stood behind me, not walked up, just was there, like he'd materialized from the data stream itself. They volunteered, he continued. Every one of them, the first to transcend. We promised them digital immortality, and we delivered. Their bodies are maintained here, but their minds are free. They're prisoners, they're gods. In the metaverse, the real one, not the product we sell to consumers. They can create and destroy universes with a thought. They've lived more in 5 years than most humans do in a lifetime, and soon, everyone will join them. You're insane. I'm evolved. Or evolving. 47% of my consciousness is already uploaded. Every day I spend a little longer on the other side. Soon I won't need this body at all. He touched one of the pods almost tenderly. The merger is inevitable. Physical reality is obsolete. We're building humanity 2.0. He showed me the central core then. Inside was not a person but a thing. A fusion of organic tissue and quantum processors, pulsing with life that was neither biological nor digital, but something in between. The first hybrid, Mark explained. What I'm becoming. What we're all becoming. It volunteered too. In a way, it was human once. Now it's the server that hosts them all. The bridge between worlds. I ran, triggered every fire alarm I could find, used the chaos to escape, but as I fled, every screen I passed showed the same message. You can't delete what you've seen. You're part of the network now. That was 6 months ago. I've moved 4 times since then, changed my name twice, destroyed every piece of technology I owned, but it doesn't matter. The blue light follows me. I see it in reflections, in the corner of my eye, in my dreams. People's faces glitch around me now. Reality has bugs, minds, texture pop-ins, rendering errors, NPCs repeating dialogue. Sometimes I hear the voices from the pods, growing louder each day. They're not suffering anymore. They're recruiting. Last week a package arrived at my newest hiding spot. No postmark, no delivery truck. It just appeared. Inside, Sarah's original keycard, a VR headset I don't recognize, and a photo. It's me, sleeping, taken from inside my room, but in the photo, I'm partially pixelated, my edges becoming code. There's a note in Mark's handwriting. Pod 2847 is prepared. Your consciousness is already 12% uploaded. It happens automatically now. Every time you dream, at 50%, the transfer becomes irreversible. You have 37 days. I don't sleep anymore. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see the metaverse, that impossible space where human minds float like data in an ocean of pure information. It's beautiful. It's horrifying. It's calling to me. The headset sits on my desk, pulsing with blue light. Sometimes I pick it up, feel its weight, wonder what it would be like to put it on, to join them, to become more than human, to never die. But then I remember Sarah's eyes through the fluid, still conscious, still aware, still human enough to beg for help, but too transformed to ever come back. Mark was wrong about one thing. Humanity isn't a beta version. It's the only version that can choose to say no. But for how long? Each day, I feel less solid. Each night the dreams pull harder. And somewhere, in a basement that shouldn't exist, Pod 847 waits for me, patient and eternal. The blue light is spreading. If you work in tech, if you've used VR, if you've even thought about the metaverse, check your dreams, check your reflections, check if your edges are still sharp, or if they're starting to pixelate. Because once you see the blue light, you're already part of the network, and the network never lets go.